Mr. Chairman. Ms. Marge, I apologize for what's happened to your husband. I had a couple of friends that went through the same situation. Terrible outcome. Even some were arrested at the VA for not having a appointment and run off of property. It's a terrible mess. How do you communicate with other service members or family that come to you and ask you about your husband's problem? I mean, what's that conversation like?
I will tell them that any story that they've heard about the VA is true.
Yeah.
When I've heard other people's stories, when I first heard them, I was surprised and shocked that, like, this must be a one-off situation. But my husband has been medically retired since 2015, and it seems like every step along the way, it is just such a struggle. And there's been many times where my husband has just felt that he's done, and I tell him he's not. And we just keep fighting. And sometimes it takes going to an outside entity to get help, which I'm incredibly thankful that it exists, but that's ridiculous.
Ms. Mathis, I heard you say something in your opening statement. Are we still having problems getting information from the DOD to the VA?
Yes, sir. There is no interoperable.
And we spent billions of dollars doing that. Billions, not millions, but billions. I wonder why we need a new IG.
Yeah.
I wonder why we need to freeze the funds. We find out what the hell's going on. It's embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. I mean, the biggest healthcare system in the world and second largest budget in our country, and we can't figure out how to get information from one entity to another. But you know what? I've talked to people who said they could do it, but we won't go to those people. For some reason, we keep going to the same people. Any follow-up?
Senator, I think that's something that VA needs to really get a handle on, which is the records issue and the electronic health record system. I believe, and I probably misspoke, I believe that VA, DOD are probably easier to speak to each other. But when you talk about community care and VA is where you have the rub, is where you have the issue. Records are not coming back into VA from community care, and they're not going out. Say for a mammogram. If I go for a mammogram for 3 years in a row, I go to the same provider, right? And then VA sends me, I don't know, maybe to another provider. That provider that is going to look at that radiograph needs to see the previous other images, not just the report. And so then the onus is on the veteran to transfer those records and those images from one provider to the next or from the provider to VA. And so, that's where they really need to have an interoperable system, a system that talks to each
We have
other.
the same problem in the DAV, just as bad as we do in the VA of information coming back and forth that was disabled veterans.
In DAV?
Yeah. The same problem, information-wise, the exchanging of the information from one entity to another.
You mean from VA?
Yeah.
Oh, from VA to DOD, they've actually worked on that with Cerner and with Oracle, but it's really the issue is from community to entity.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.